with the Bank of England now, base rate 5%. We saw yesterday that there are various sort of two. Give us a summary, Holly. So what are we looking at in terms of mortgage rates now for a shorter term rate compared to, say, a longer term rate, compared to what we were looking at even, say, a year ago?
Oh, well, do you want the good news? My plea here is the same as Craig's, actually. It's don't panic and think ahead. I think that is just a really important thing to kind of put out there before we go into what this looks like now compared to then. And as Richard said, actually, we've all been so used to really low rates that this is going to be a shock for a lot of people. And therefore, we just need to manage those expectations and just let people know what options are out there. But for rates, yeah, they've doubled pretty much since this time last year is the long short, if not more in some instances. The whole mortgage market's on its head a little bit, to be honest. In the nearly 15 years I've been doing mortgages, you're right, I don't think I've ever worked as hard. I think I deserve a pay rise, David, just FYI, just for that last year. But yeah, no, I think it's one of those things that it's all going to be really down to your personal circumstances. And that's the really important thing to remember here. You can watch a webinar and I can give you an overview of what's happening. The really important thing here is to talk to someone who is able to look at your specific set of circumstances, because one piece of advice right now could be really detrimental compared to another piece of advice that might be better for you. But yeah, it's not very often you see a 5-year fixed rate being cheaper than a 2-year fixed rate, which is kind of where we're sat at the moment.
Could you give us some context on those rates, Holly, at all? Just give so what is an average 5-year fixed rate now, or what's an average 2-year fixed, and what were we looking at previously? So I know lots of people had 5-year fixed with a 1 at the front of them, didn't they? What sort of rates are we looking at now, and what rates were we at before?
Yeah, so I mean, the best rate we kind of saw 12-18 months ago was like 1.19 for a 2-year fixed rate, which was cracking, like brilliant, but it kind of wasn't the norm. Now for a kind of a 2-year fixed rate, I think the average they're quoting is about 6.6%. There are some that are a bit cheaper, there are some that are more expensive. It's going to depend who you're eligible to go with, and that's quite a big part of this as well. Actually, you have the option to stick with who you're with, or we have the option to try and move you somewhere else. Now, we've got to get through affordability if we're going to move it somewhere else. We need time to look at that. We need time to action that. And the quicker you action these things, whatever you're doing right now, the better, because we can tie stuff in early. We don't have to wait for crunch time. If you stick your head in the sand, this is going to be more expensive for you. Action now, talk to someone now, and then actually kind of, get that ball rolling, because if we need to check affordability, we need to make sure that's an option. If not, we need to tie in something with your existing lender where they're not going to be doing an affordability check. And we've got to look at all of those things, and we've got to decide based on your plans and your circumstances, what the best route is going to be for you going forward.
Excellent, thank you. And there's a question that's come just for you here, which I'm going to come to in a moment. But generally about the housing market, are things moving? I know we see a lot in the media, it's a lot of doom and gloom, and it depends on what paper you read, indeed, as to what survey they took at the time. But are you still noticing people are still moving? There's an appetite to still move and climb the ladder, as it were?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you would almost think, reading the papers and watching the news, that no one's doing anything other than panicking. And actually, that's not the case. First-time buyers are still contacting us. We are still doing mortgages. I moved my brother just last week. I didn't want to have to do the moving element of it. I did as well as the mortgage, but I did because I'm a kind sister. But you know what? Actually, he's just upsized, and he kind of looked at it as his whole budget. And that's the thing with this. It's looking at it holistically. And I know everything is going up, but it's actually taking that viewpoint of, this is everything we're going to have to pay. This is what this looks like now, and getting that foresight and that, that leg up on that almost is going to be really beneficial for you. So yeah, we've still got people contacting us wanting to move, first time buyers, because to them, this is going to be the norm. This is what they're budgeting for.
So if somebody is struggling with their mortgage, and there will likely be people out there that are, they're facing into the fact that their mortgage rate's gone up, they've just had gas and electric bills all going up, what should they do if they're going to be struggling with their mortgage payments? Is there any help for them?
Yeah, so first off is always, speak to a broker and see if there's anything, just to actually get your facts of what your figures are going to look like. Second off is, when you get those figures, if you sit there and go, there's just no way that this adds up at the end of the month, please contact your lenders. They will be able to advise you and help you. They do have specific parts of their business that are set up for that. We've also had the mortgage charter, which has been very recently introduced, which we're getting a lot of emails through the broker email saying that the big lenders and the small ones are signing up to the mortgage charter, where they're going to give you options like being able to move on to interest only for a very set period of time, but to help out with your immediate budget. There's the option of being able to extend terms without potentially having to look at affordability checks. So it's going to be dependent on which lender, what they take on. There's going to be a little bit of a delay getting them to implement that into their systems, but it is definitely something that they are gearing up for, and they appreciate that not everybody is going to be able to find an extra £200, £400, £600, £800 a month. And therefore, if you are sitting there thinking, I just don't know how I'm going to do this, please talk to them, because they will want to help you. They aren't just going to want to immediately take your keys away from you. So yeah, that's my plight. Don't panic, act early. If you really are in trouble, talk to your lender. They will try and help you.
Excellent. Thank you. Great advice, Holly. So